It's very difficult to develop this kind of attitude which says, I will learn from what I've done and apply it later. In about 1980, the American government decided that in fact it could do away with professionals, that it could find a way of extracting the essence of their professional skill and in fact put it on a computer. So a man called 1MOV001 from Carnegie Mellon University was commissioned to look into what makes an expert an expert. So what makes an expert designer expert? And he spent a lot of time talking to designers about what they knew and how they did what they knew. And in the end he came to the conclusion that in fact there's no way of producing an expert system for a designer. The reason being is expert designers don't have expert knowledge about things. Most design problems are unique in many ways, but they've got expert strategies for dealing with knowledge. So it's like a chess player. Grandmaster doesn't actually remember the moves. What he remembers are the patterns of pieces on the board. He looks at it, he sees the pattern, and he knows that pattern means the game will proceed in this way. Expert designers have the same sort of ability. They see the situation and then they take that situation, right? Because from their experience, this is what you do when you're faced with this kind of situation. That constitutes not expert knowledge, but expert knowledge about how to proceed, how to see patterns in what's going on. This kind of capacity only comes with experience. Hence, why you don't necessarily have it at the moment, but you ultimately will have it. Because you will become more and more experienced in situations, and you will recognize and think, in this situation, this is what happens. In this situation, this is how I do it. So you're faced always with the problem that you can't necessarily see the pattern at this point, but ultimately you will. Okay. Next slide, please. Continuing what Sean said, an art of practice which might be taught if it was constant and known, but it's not constant. So in fact, here's the situation. We can't teach you how to deal with every situation because every design is unique. All that you can acquire is your own kit of ways of looking at problems, how that you actually deal with them. Now, you can argue the postmodern argument says, well, there are no rules in design, right? Everything is possible, everything can be done. And we can take this from deconstructivism or whatever you like. But to deny that what has gone before is both arrogant and stupid.
And one of the things I'm going to suggest to you is that if you're trying to create spaces and so forth, there's a huge history of people creating spaces in another discipline, that is in architecture. And therefore I would have thought that there was some virtue in you referring to that. The picture on the bottom side there is the Gado Occidente in Lisbon, in Portugal. You can't see it very clearly here, but you can see from the shapes, which are Moorish in origin, where KLIA comes from. It's very simple. This, of course, is by an extremely famous architect by the name of, well, he's an engineer actually, but he does buildings as well. It's Santiago Calatrava. And if you want to look at really very seductive structures and so forth, or spaces, look at the work of Calatrava. In fact, I would have thought there's a great deal to be gained from, if you're creating virtual spaces, is to look at spaces which are created by people who have this kind of skill.